What's up, guys? We back again with another one. It's your boy here. Today we're gonna be talking about life as we always do. Um, yeah, life is only gonna get harder before it gets any better. I don't know if anybody's ever heard that saying. It's only gonna get harder before it gets any easier, right? Yeah. So, uh, I opened the wrong page here. Yeah. So you have to understand that the society that we live in today, in this century, in these past few decades or whatever, the society is really against you. It's Society is not really pro men, you know. I get it. Maybe there are even some girls out here watching, but society is not really pro anyone, but but itself. Society just wants to keep itself running. Language, arts, culture, they just want to feed their own engines, right? So they'll stipulate whatever they have to stipulate, right, to put people in sort of like a mind control or like a certain type of mindset to keep you down in that sense. And I know it's kind of I'm being very obscure here, but I'll get more into that. But what you need to keep in mind is that society is not here to fight with you. Instead, it fights against you. It's uh, it's almost like a weight that holds you down. The fuck with that. Anyways, yeah. Most young people my age, we dig ourselves into a grave, right? Before we even realize what's happening, right? We dig ourselves into this deep hole and we never realize what's happening until it's way too late for that, right? Whether it be credit card debt, whether it be relationships, whether it be like schooling, like everything that happens in this world, everything that we participate on this planet, we have to either pay for or there's some sort of admissions fee, to learning the right way to do it or to paying the price or whatever, as they would say, right? Yeah, for sure. I think the most common example for me and for everybody else is like credit cards and like debts and how that thing is like kind of sold to you as like a package, something that you should have, and everybody has one. And just because everybody has one, you should have one too. And I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't. I can't really speak for you, but what I am saying is that that's something that's pushed onto you by society as something that you need, right? It's the same with social media. It's kind of like levied onto you and sold to you as something that everybody does today, and because everybody does it, it's okay for if you do it, right? So these things are traps, and when you start to buy into them, when you start to buy into credit card, when you start to buy into going out on crazy dates, when you start to buy into social media, when you start to buy into all of these things, you go down a rabbit hole, right? When you start going down the rabbit hole, that's when you start digging your own grave, right? Yeah, right. The most important thing when you go down these rabbit holes is to recognize that you're going down a rabbit hole. The most important thing when you start expending a lot of resources in a certain direction is to recognize that you're expending those resources. When you start spending a lot of time on social media or caring about what other people think about likes or views or comments or whatever, if it's not business related, of course, if it's purely like superficial, then you got to recognize these things, because the world that we live in is made to keep us consuming. The more we consume is the more they can milk us like cows, pretty much, right? So we have to be conscious of these decisions and of these things that we do. Otherwise, we're going to keep on staying in that consumer culture, right? There are people who consume and there are people who create. You want to be on the end of the creator side, right? Because the creator side is what? One gets you paid, one gives you freedom and options. One gets you paid, two gives you freedoms and options, three makes your life a whole lot easier. Four, it removes that fog and that haze, right? The more we consume and the more we let society change together, the more we're inside that fog and that haze. And it comes back to this comes back to what I was saying about life's gonna get a lot harder before it gets any better. The more you dig yourself deeper in that hole, or the more you go down that rabbit hole, or the more you go into the fog and the haze, is the harder it's gonna get. Even if you recognize now today that you're in a hole, a rabbit hole, or whatever, you can't just necessarily just get up and leave or jump out of the hole, right? Some of us are too far in, too deep in shit's creek to just get up and leave, right? So what's the exit strategy? What are my options here if I'm too far into credit card debt and I can't escape it? Or if I'm too invested in Instagram and I can't put my phone down, right? What are my options here? What am I supposed to do, right? The key is in what I've been trying to say, or what I've been saying, that slang, that slogan that I've been saying. It's gonna get harder before it gets any easier, right? It A part of it being hard is giving up the tasks that you've so these things that you've so enjoyed, even if you haven't enjoyed it, that you've like these things that you've become so used to, become so accustomed to. Giving them up is a part of it getting harder before it gets any easier, right? That may mean that you don't give it up instantly, but you have to keep on digging yourself into that hole. That's possibly what it could mean. You have to keep on digging yourself into that hole, right? And it's got to keep on getting harder and harder for you before you realize just how much of a tight grip this thing has on you, just how much of an effect this thing has on you, right? So it doesn't necessarily, what I'm saying necessarily doesn't mean that you got to just stop and give up and look for a new route, because we're creatures of habit, right? It's much easier for us to continue doing what we're doing, even if we know it's harmful to us, than to stop doing what we're doing just because it's beneficial to us, because we are creatures of habit, right? Um, yeah, so there are things you can do to make yourself alleviate pains, anxieties, and angst, right? And we're gonna get to that in a second. But if you find yourself in some form of rabbit hole, or some form of like some form of swindle, or some form of whatever it is, you have to recognize that it's gonna get harder before it gets any easier, and that's kind of what you want. It will never just go from hard to easy, right? You have to take those steps through. You have to walk that road, and you have to make that journey for yourself, for you to realize that the harder it gets, the more I guess the word is the more tempered you become, right? And the more tempered you become is the more you're able to withstand everything or anything that comes at you. The more you're able to face the music, or the more you're able to brave the storm, right? And that's you becoming hardened and stronger, right? As you face adversities. And then eventually you will find the light at the end of the tunnel, or you'll have the option to cut certain things off, and you'll make the choices, right? Up to you. At the end of the day, it's always up to you, and you're always the one that makes the final decision, whether it takes you 1 month, 1 year, 1 decade, right? It's gonna get harder before it gets any easier, right? Some ways to alleviate these, like these things that everybody faces, is yeah, like finding a community, socializing, talking to people who are supportive and people who you trust, and confiding in them. Because sometimes you learn, even I learned, nothing's wrong with confiding in people that you trust. Of course, talking to them and letting them know what's happening. It's even better if they're in the same boat as you, which, granted, the way how things are in life, a lot of us are all in the same boat, and we're all sinking with the same ship, right? So find someone you can confide in, someone that you trust, um, and find comfort in the struggle, right? This particular struggle that is making your life so difficult, find comfort in it, embrace it, love it, become it, right? So that could mean that if you have relationship problems or if you have problems finding someone that you consider your loved one, sorry, not your loved one, someone that you want to fall in love with for your life or whatever, find find comfort in knowing that yes, it's difficult. It's not something that's gonna just pop up and become easy, but at the end of the day, you're on a journey here for the quest for the perfect lover or whatever it is, right? And that journey in and of itself should be enjoyed, and that's some should be something that you relish, so that when the time comes when you do find this person, you can appreciate them even more because you had such a long journey of being single or whatever, right? Because you've had that journey, you're finally willing to put those shoes up or put up your boots or put up whatever and switch and transition into another mode. Life is transitioning. It's not just wanting this, getting this, and then next, right? So enjoy your journey, enjoy whatever it is, right? Find people who you can confide in, people who you can trust, and just keep the mindset that it's going to get a lot harder before it gets any easier, right? As Bruce Lee always said, prepare for the worst, but pray for the best, right? You always want to prepare for the worst case scenario because Murphy's Law, I'm pretty sure everybody knows, if something bad can happen, it will happen. So always prepare for it. Be prepared and never let life, get a sneak up on you, right? Things in life are much easier than they seem, right? We just overcomplicate things and we at times tend to make things harder than they need to be, right? So, yeah, in this case, we're just going to focus on, staying focused. We're going to focus on becoming tougher mentally, physically. We're going to be focused on enjoying, almost being a little bit masochistic here. Is it masochistic or is it sadist? I think it's masochistic. We're going to be focused on enjoying the pain that's dealt to us, and we're going to be focused on, like tunnel vision in a sense where we realize that we dug ourselves into this hole, and the only way to get out of this hole is to keep on digging pretty much, right? And see where it leads us. But the biggest difference is being aware that you dug yourself into the hole. Without the awareness, then you could be digging forever. It's like, like digging for rocks or diamonds. If you're digging and you don't know what you're searching for, you could be digging forever. But a man with a plan is an action man. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, let me know what you want to see next. And yeah, peace.